Have you ever wondered how to become the White House press secretary? Well, me too. And ever since I started studying public relations and found out that I had an interest in politics, I've been fascinated by the position and have been trying to find out as much information as possible on how to land the job. And throughout my coursework in public relations, I learned about another passion of mine, which is called media relations. And that is where a practitioner's main goal is to engage with the media. And I found that this is integral to political communication, campaign communication, and communication in the White House. For public relations professionals, there is no clear path to becoming White House press secretary. However, if there was a direct stepping stone, becoming a presidential campaign media liaison is the closest comparable role due to the synonymous job responsibilities, despite the difference in messaging goals. So my research began with the goal of me needing to understand what a campaign media liaison was. And I found that there were multiple positions on presidential campaigns that had touch points with the media and conducted media relations. For example, communications directors, traveling press secretaries, and regional media directors all engaged with media on some level. And also, fun fact, Joe Biden had about 4 traveling press secretaries in his 2020 campaign. So I came to the conclusion that it was the responsibilities rather than the titles of these positions that needed to be examined in order to create a clear and concise comparison to a White House press secretary. Therefore, in aggregate, I am referring to the responsibilities and the title as a media liaison. Numero blog in 2020 stated that a presidential campaign media liaison is responsible for relaying campaign messages to target audiences, engaging with the press, monitoring media coverage of a candidate, developing earned media strategy, and writing a press release. And it's important to note that all of those include touch points with the media or a reporter. However, there is a key difference between a media liaison's responsibility and a press secretary, in that they have to work extremely hard to gain media attention. There are 10 candidates on the campaign trail wanting to get the nomination to become president. However, once elected, there is only one president, and you are afforded a podium to talk from. So it's very important that media liaisons create good relationships with the media at the forefront of a campaign and continue to maintain those relationships by fulfilling all of their responsibilities, including writing press releases, developing media strategy, and monitoring media coverage, etc., and communicating that clearly to reporters. In the Office of the Press Secretary by Martha Kumar, she states that a press secretary has a multitude of audiences that they need to communicate to, including the public, the president's special publics in Washington, our government, other governments around the globe, and more importantly, the media. And they engage with the media in 2 different ways, via the gaggle or the press briefings, which are regular events where the press secretary is afforded the time to talk to reporters, and the reporters are afforded the time to talk to the press secretary. And this shows that the touch points with the press secretary are very much guaranteed, and they don't have to work as hard to gain media attention because it is automatically embedded in the job description. And during the press briefings, the press secretary covers a multitude of topics, including U.S. policy, other people's actions, the announcement of new policy, and they respond to reporters' questions and the subjects of interest that they're covering that day. Whereas a media liaison would be more focused on amplifying the candidate's character or trying to relay a policy message that they're wanting to enact, not something that they ran on and got elected on. However, it's really important to note that both of these positions at their core are centered around talking and engaging and providing information to the media about their candidate or the President of the United States. So after I compared the responsibilities and found that they were synonymous with each other and would translate from one position to the other, I wanted to see if there was an additional layer to be examined here. And that layer being how engaging with the media can be different if you're representing a candidate versus a president. And we've spoken about campaigns about how they're about persuasion and how we need to garner votes. And to do that, we need to position our candidate in a favorable eye in the eyes of the electorate. And that is media liaison's goal. Crespin, Flowers, and Hayes state that a media liaison can use a multitude of strategies to do this, including competitive positioning and basic information dissemination. And all in all, the goal of a media liaison on the campaign trail is to gain earned media coverage that results in positive action toward their candidate by the electorate. In other words, they need to win the election. However, once the candidate is in office, that messaging shifts, and the press secretary is tasked with articulating where the president has made progress on his or her objectives, and that is because due to the visibility and the power that the position holds, the press secretary is obligated to do that. They turn from campaign aspirations to campaign promises, and they need to report on those promises. Many people have gone from the campaign trail to the White House press briefing room, including our current press secretary, Jen Psaki. And it is clear that through my research that working on a political campaign as a media liaison is the best way to gain the media relations skills and knowledge needed to work in the White House as press secretary. And that the skills learned on the campaign trail do translate to the White House, despite the difference in messaging. If you're a public relations student wanting to pave your way to the White House, get out on the campaign trail.